Hi friends, we thought we'd just pop on again and we're just going to play a game, and if you happen to be around and you'd like to join us and for chat about anything. So and we'll just probably check the levels of I think the levels are probably okay. And anyway, somebody can tell us if they're not. So, how about you, Dee Dee? How are you today?
I'm pretty good.
You got your mic.
Actually, I'm pretty good.
You got your mic turned on.
I do.
Yeah. Pretty good. Yeah, there was quite a lot of rain today, and it was very windy. So it was actually. I'm not sure. I can see little Efi on the screen there. That's
yes.
When
Well,
Aoife was
I'm
very
going to
young.
put him back on because I think No Man's
So we're
Sky
going
is
to
just
actually
closed
play-
down again.
Oh, okay. We're actually going to play No Man's Sky, but or we could look at Aoife all for the next hour or so.
Yeah, he's always very cute. Too much fiddling. There we go.
Sometimes, unfortunately, Dee Dee's computer probably needs an upgrade with
It does.
the drive,
It
and
does.
it's not really working very well when it comes to. I should have a look and see
I'm
if this
trying to do
pops.
too many things.
I've got a
with
pop screen, and just I should see. I just want to see if my. It doesn't actually. It doesn't
that?
seem to pop. I don't think my I think my microphone works with this little pop thing, so that's good.
is working.
You know, the pop screen.
Is working.
It seems to be, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
So anyway, we just have to load No Man's Sky up, and
Tacky talk. We just put a pop filter on
Yeah,
Trish's
because
mic.
the other day I had to
Because
talk
last time
from
it
the
wasn't
side,
So great.
and that was a bit of a pain. And,
She's got the better mic at the moment.
yeah, it's a little bit better than the actual headset thing. I like headsets though, because you can you don't have to worry about where your mouth is positioned in relation to the microphone. So at some point we'll probably get another game to play, but this is it's a little bit Xy, the one that we want to use. I'd like to have what's it called? The flight simulator?
Flight simulator, the modern flight simulator. But that would require a really substantial upgrade to my computer.
It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of power, doesn't it, to play that?
Yeah.
So, but that would be really nice to have that.
Yeah.
This is playing on Twitter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's playing on Twitter and it's playing on Twitch.
Oh yeah, good. I never bothered to go over to Twitch to see.
No.
I wouldn't have a clue what was going on there when we were playing. So. And so what's happening on this planet right now, Dee Dee?
Okay.
Does it have a name of a planet?
I'm swimming around underground, underwater at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
This is my little underwater house. And I've actually got a little mining operation where I'm mining gas and copper.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm inside. And I've got a teleporter right here.
Uh-huh.
And I can step into that, and then I'm on land. So here I am. And
what's the name of that little alien little being that you have there?
well, I don't know. It's a slightly different head shape this time, but he doesn't have a name really. He's just he's the traveler.
The traveler.
He's a traveler.
Oh, he's a traveler.
A traveler friend. Yes.
Oh, traveler friend. Okay. Uh-huh. He sort of looks like a kind of a bit cat-like, really. Hey,
Yeah.
or she, or
The
they.
other one looked very cat-like, the other head that I had on there.
He, she, or they.
Hello, you. I have a cat that's trying to help me control my
She
thing.
wants a lot of attention
Hello,
out here at
you.
the moment.
Hi, sweetie.
She
Hi,
kind of
darling.
parks herself in front of the screen and in front of the monitor, Dee Dee's monitor.
And starts butting my head when I'm trying to control things, and she wants to chew on the controls.
Yeah.
So, she wants to control the story. She says, "Look, I'm the feline overlord. Why
Yeah,
aren't you
yeah.
bowing to me and letting,
Yeah.
letting me play this?"
And
Why-
sometimes we're not
why
really
aren't
sure
you
what she
touching?
wants. Ali is a sort of a very...
She's
I think she might have had a very difficult... We're pretty sure she had a very difficult time when she was younger, because I don't think she ever got to be inside the house, even when it was probably unpleasant weather. This is what we're gauging. I think she was always sort of kept outside, so she's not a huge... Like, we actually supervise when they're outside, to the best of our ability. And so they get to have plenty of outside time, but they also come in before it gets dark,
Yeah.
before dusk, and then
we don't let them out until a few hours after dawn,
yeah,
and bring them in at least an hour before sunset.
Yeah, and if we ever go out anywhere shopping or anything like that, we bring them in and stuff like that. So we do our very best to be responsible.
And we have the Bird Be Safe collars that I think everybody's probably seen on the videos.
Which work really well.
Yeah, they're very colorful, and the birds, because the birds are very tuned into color, they pick up on it, and so they're just that little bit safer. But our cats aren't very hunty.
No, they're not really.
No.
They're actually fairly old now, most of them, except for Aoife.
Except for
and
Aoife.
Aoife is very cautious, and he doesn't like being... He only really likes being outside when probably we're outside, or maybe somebody else, one of his friends, feline friends, and he kind of sticks very close to the house. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Alia kind of has had a bit of a hard life, and so she gets a bit gritchy. We call it gritchy, where she'll sort of one minute
grumpy
she gets grumpy, and she'll have a little swipe, and we just give her lots of love. And she's actually sort of, over the last 3 years we've had her, she's
really
improved.
Calmed down, and she's a bit of a sweetheart.
Because she was a bit scary in the beginning, wasn't she, Dee?
Well,
she'd sit in front of me, and like she'd kind of
for
stare
Trishy
at
especially,
you, and she was
kind of. She showed more fear, and so
hey.
I think you showed more
because
fear.
she was actually sit in front of me and stare, which is something that, when cats do that, you're in trouble. If they're staring at you, that's a kind of a challenge and aggression thing. And so she'd sort of get pretty she would get annoyed easily, but now not so much. She's very temperamental, but she's like calmed down a heap, hasn't she, Dee Dee?
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of life she had before we adopted her, but I don't think it was a whole lot of fun, because she's not that... obviously it was hard.
I had a thing where, which I think really helped, where whenever I saw her outside and passed her outside, I would go over and give her a little scritch, and and scritch is, of course, one of our other words.
Yeah, scritches means just...
We invent a lot of words.
A scratch under the chin and on the back. She'd like that. And so we do a lot of that. And I would... Anytime, we always work on these little cats and kind of give them lots and lots of love and attention, and kind of rough them up a little bit, meaning, in a fun way, kind of so that they feel safe, and that kind of thing. So you kind of, ruffle them up a bit and play with them like that, and they like that. So they've all kind of they really feel quite loved, I hope, anyway.
Yeah. Oh, look at these strange guys.
Anyway, we were talking to Dee Dee's daughter today, who lives in California, and she was talking about the fires, and
she is in one of the areas that was evacuated. So it
Yeah,
was a
it was
little
so
bit
close
scary.
to her house. I think we talked about that a couple of days ago.
Yeah, she had a friend whose house burned down.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, and they lost everything.
Oh no. Did they
Yes.
have any insurance?
I don't know, but they said the worst thing was, like they just lost everything, all their personal stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they said they wished they had been able to get in before they weren't allowed into that area to grab, like discs and stuff like that they wanted. Oh, it's apparently very hot here. Oh my.
Sorry, say that last bit again, Didi.
This planet, it's currently having some sort of extreme temperature thing where it's 109 degrees centigrade,
Right.
and my little guy out there was hot.
Yeah, the heat there is pretty crazy. Huh.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how you can... Jason Unruh, who's has a YouTube channel. He's called the
One of the channels
Maoist
we like.
Rebel. One of the channels we like. He's been locked out of his channel by YouTube, which is a worry because I think they've been just looking for excuses to
Get rid of him.
get rid of him.
He's been there for a very long time. When
Yeah,
did he
he's been
join
there.
you? He's been on YouTube since 2009.
29 or something, 2009, yeah. And they've been looking for reasons to get rid of him. And I think they're they don't really need a reason. They can make up anything, basically.
Yeah.
So that's really awful. I decided, not that I'm not really. I used to be kind of a bit of a fan of Glenn Greenwald in years gone by, but not so much now with his transphobia and things like that. But he was talking about how he has joined Rumble, and I'm not a fan of Tulsi Gabbard either, being pro-Israel and all that stuff. I don't want to go into it, but it's you can find a playlist on my site about why. But she and there's a few other people have joined Rumble.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd join that. So I've uploaded 2 or 3 videos just from recent times. And I think it's a bit right-wingy. I think that's my impression. So I don't know if I suit that sort of platform, but I thought, well, at least I'm uploading. I don't expect that I'll get, unless they decide to shut down, unless YouTube decides they hate all anti-imperialist sites and they want to just basically get rid of them all. I'm not big enough for them to be concerned, but they mess with my channel regularly, and it's heavily suppressed. Like I get one person joining every 5 days or something, which even when it was really slow, it used to get probably one person a day. Now it's like, and I don't think my content has deteriorated in the recent months. I don't think it's no really different than it was. So, it's either they've made sure that nobody
People
sees
don't
it.
see it.
I would expect to at least get what I used to get, with sort of one
Yeah.
person every other day. But now
Yeah.
it's just sort of like it. And
You
if
should
it ever
put
goes
this-
forward once,
Put
what's
this
that?
on the screen so we can see any comments in case anybody's...
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, it's all right. I check every so often.
Okay.
So sorry about whinging about that, but it makes me think about it when I see Jason Unruh being messed with. So if you, I'll give a link to his site. I mean, I don't agree with everything Jason Unruh says on his site, but he has some very good analysis of, the U.S. empire and all of that sort of thing. So it's
And he
it's
brings
really
up news that most people don't see.
yeah, he does a lot of great stuff.
Oh,
And
God.
he's the real deal in that regard. Like he's a real anti-imperialist. He's also sort of a socialist. He's got his own sort of there's all kinds of there's a lot of infighting happens with different socialist sort of sections on social media platforms and stuff. I'm not really I don't really think about that very much, but I feel like he's got a really he really tries to sort of talk about good things, like it's not clickbaity stuff, that's for sure. And that's nice, because I can't say that for some of the leftist sites that I've seen in recent months, just commenting on other people's commentary, and a sort of, this person said this, and this is what that person said about this person's comment.
And this is why that person isn't any good.
Yeah. I'll critique somebody's thing every so often if it's got for the content.
And if the person is somebody that people pay a lot of attention to, like you've done a little bit of critique of Max's COVID stuff.
Yeah.
But
which
that's
he's
because
done another one
Max
too.
is somebody we and so many people admire for their content about imperialism and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And how often they do really good reporting.
Yeah.
And then to have them doing something like that was just weird.
Yeah, but he's kind of gone off the rails. And then he did another one about menstrual disruption and the COVID vaccines.
This is on Rockfin.
On Rockfin. He did another one, and we are wondering whether he may have started that channel of his own, like the Max Blumenthal channel on Rockfin, because he's wanting to do just one video after another about COVID, sort of trying to base. He says he's not an anti-vaxxer and he's not an anti-masker, but everything that he's kind of talking about in some ways is kind of trying
what's wrong with masks, and what's wrong with lockdowns.
Sow doubt about masks, trying to sow doubt about
what's
vaccines.
What's wrong with vaccine.
And that's important.
COVID
Of course
vaccine.
it's important to be critical of anything, right? But it doesn't feel like it's coming from, like he took his journalist hat off when he did that most recent one about the menstrual disruption and the COVID vaccines, because that he interviewed somebody on Rockfin about who's an adjunct professor of economics. I mean, why would you interview an economics adjunct professor about vaccines? I mean, he would himself complain if somebody had done that about something that he was interested in. He would say, why are they interviewing this person, an economics professor, about it, sort of China or something, you know what I mean, in relation to imperialism or something. Do you know what I mean? It's just like why he didn't interview these two. There were two doctors who were doing some research into why there was some women were experiencing menstrual disruption. And it's not a permanent. It's not a permanent condition, by the way.
And it's not an unknown situation either.
No, it's not. If you search online, there's heaps of articles on it. But Max was making out as if this was some kind of secret thing that wasn't being explored, it wasn't being looked into, and that women were being put down for mentioning it, which I don't think is entirely true, and it's certainly not secret, is it, Didi? You can just
look online. It's certainly not secret because you can see it online anywhere.
Yeah. So
and the fact that you can see it online, and WHO or the CDC, I think it is, and the NIH, National Institute of Health, are all looking into it, and there's several different organizations that are studying it to see how significant this is.
Yeah.
Now, of course, menstrual disruption is also not that unusual. I mean, there's all kinds of things that cause menstrual disruption. And, unless it's something that's relatively permanent, I mean, people's in stressful situations where they're worried about their jobs can have menstrual disruption.
Yeah.
People having trouble with their relationships can have menstrual disruption. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff where your emotional state affects that.
Yeah.
And, to sit there and say, oh, but without saying what kind of menstrual disruption it is.
Yeah.
And from what we've read online, it seems most of the situations are that it is a temporary thing. I think I've got most of this right. You've looked into this a lot.
Yeah.
That it is a temporary thing, and it doesn't seem to be causing any kind of lasting problems.
Yeah, well, look, these particular doctors that were looking into this, that Max didn't interview but instead interviewed that economics adjunct professor, Kate Clancy, a human reproductive ecologist and associate professor of anthropology at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and a biological anthropologist, Catherine Lee of Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis. They both did. Clancy's research has been centered around uterine function, ovarian hormones, and menstrual cycles for decades. I mean, and Lee is a data engineer. Her current postdoctoral work includes collaborations on physical activity and reproductive hormones across the lifespan in healthy adult premenopausal women. So they would have been probably two researchers who would have been good to interview instead of an economics adjunct professor.
And it didn't take much for you to find that information.
No, this was on NPR. And these two researchers, they collected more than 140,000 reports from people who say they've noticed a change in their periods after vaccination. And so they were documenting those cases in an open-ended study. And the Grey Zone kind of poo-pooed those two and their study, sort of
not the
kind of
Grey Zone,
indicating.
was it?
No, it was them.
It was Max and his channel.
Max, no,
Foreign
on the Grey
agents.
Zone they did it too, because she did a big long. She did this. Where is it now? She did an article. This is the economics adjunct professor had done an article on it. But I'm just, here it is here. See, this is their article on the Grey Zone. Why won't the U.S. medical establishment believe women, in quotes, COVID-19 vaccines do not warn about menstrual disruption? So anyway, she, further down, it's a very long article that, what's her name again? Her name is Marcy Smith Parenti, and this was August 3rd, 2021 on the Grey Zone. And this is and Max's video on foreign agents on Rockfin was interviewing this woman about her article. I haven't really had time to really watch it all, but I read this whole article, which is very long. And she talks about, about those two women, and not very favorably, sort of as if they're kind of, I don't know, they're a bit dodgy or something. I'm not sure why she would think they're dodgy, because I don't think they don't seem like they're funded by, who knows, but I mean, they don't seem like they're funded by vaccine industry or anything like that, the big pharma.
Well, one's a gynecologist and the other's... No, the gynecologist is from Harvard. That's the one that she kind of poo-pooed too. Yeah.
But this is... this is what Parenti said, the economics adjunct professor said. Their open anonymous survey has received over 140,000 responses, but it seems to suffer from what is called selection bias, in quotes. Anyone with an agenda can fill it out. It appears to have no quality controls. I asked my husband to fill out the questionnaire. Though he has never menstruated, he did not hit submit. Clancy and Lee's apparently lax protocols mean anyone, big pharma trolls and members of the anti-vaxxer scourge, she has anti-vaxxer in quotes, scourge alike, can put their thumbs on the scale. Perhaps Clancy and Lee are somehow protecting against such corruption of their data. I posed this question to them in an email, but received no response. Well, that really depends. I mean, 140,000 people. Anyway, so I don't know. She didn't seem to like that, what they were doing particularly. But I mean, why not? Why didn't Max interview those two? I think that would have been really interesting. Anyway, so.
Also, I have to say, what studies, if you're trying to find out if anybody's having a problem, one of the first things might be just to say, anybody who's got a problem, please write in, and we'll keep your information confidential, because everybody's concerned with having their information tracked.
Anyway,
And it's not coming
sorry.
up with any definitive thing. It's is there a situation here where at least some people are reporting side effects?
Yeah.
Because one of the things about side effects is quite often many of the side effects don't affect the majority of people. So if you do a study to say, or some sort of a survey to say, is anyone having any kind of side effects, then it doesn't matter if there's a majority of people who say no. That doesn't mean there's not side effects.
Yeah.
It means,
Anyway.
some people are reporting it,
Well, the thing is,
and that's all it says.
those two particular researchers said that when they asked people, have you had any adverse reactions?
Yeah.
They, like, she would have sort of thought that having a change in your menstrual cycle for a couple of cycles, she wouldn't have called that an adverse reaction. She might have caused she would have called myocarditis an adverse reaction.
Sure.
And she would have called the thrombosis with thrombocytopenia a adverse reaction. But the disruption, like if it was a permanent disruption and it was like really, significant, if there was a cessation of menstruation, or if there was a sort of really extreme things happening, then that would probably would have been reported. But I think people didn't consider that an adverse reaction. But like she herself had a reaction to the vaccine, like she had a heavy period straight after that. And that could, who knows why that could be. But I mean, Max and Parenti were sort of basically saying it started off, they looked like they were trying to be kind of fairly, like there was times during that where the Parenti's saying, well, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but then sort of goes on about, like trying to sow doubt, trying to kind of put in another problem as if it's a secret, and that I was expecting almost that they were going to start with the eugenics, that they're trying to cause people to be infertile or something, and you know what I mean? It felt like it was going to go that way. And I don't know if they may have been hoping even that people started thinking like that. I don't know. What do you think, Didi? Who knows? I don't know. They're being very careful about it, not being too, like they keep, like she said it twice in it, I think it's important people take the vaccine because, but I mean, like Max, he's kind of, Max Blumenthal, he's kind of like, I don't know what is worse, really. Like if it's just a disruption and it's just like they have an unusual period once or twice, and everything else seems to be okay. Then what is worse, death, and ending up on a ventilator or having strokes and all the things. I mean, because it's not the flu. It's you have you have all sorts of clotting problems that. You have clots in your brain, clots in your abdomen, clots in your legs, which go to your lungs. It's you can have all the COVID is a serious. It's a serious illness that people end up having all sorts of problems if they survive it.
Yeah.
And most of the people now in ICU are people who haven't been vaccinated, and that includes Australia. And we're not so propagandized here, but we have anti-maskers here and we have anti-vaxxers
Well, yes, there
here.
was that situation recently where in a testing clinic there was somebody who was coming up to it. It was an outdoor testing clinic, and this guy came up to this nurse who was doing the testing and started filming her and really harassing her verbally, saying, why are you doing this? You're doing this and this and this. And finally he ended up, she had one of those face shields on, and he shoved his phone up into her face shield, and she knocked it down, and then he punched her in the head a couple of times.
That's amazing, isn't it?
His excuse was he thought it was a vaccine clinic instead
like
of a
as
testing
if that makes
clinic.
it better.
Like that makes it better.
Yeah.
He has been arrested for assault and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of crazy, and it's like talking to my daughter. She said she lives in Northern California, up around Nevada City. Grass Valley area. And she said, like, the communities there are so polarized in different ways. They've got some very conservative people who've been there for a while and who are kind of Trumper types, and won't have vaccines or wear masks because the government is evil and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's what she calls the festival goers, who she says kind of.
She's lost some friends, hasn't she, Didi?
Yes.
Over the masker thing. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
Like, I mean.
But these other people are people who won't have anything to do with the masks and what have you, because it's authoritarian, and they kind of go, oh, it's just like the flu, and if we have good vibes, we won't get it. And it's like,
who says that?
These are
her friends.
The alternative. No, this is like, there's a lot of people who seem to focus on very kind of new agey stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And wanting to go to lots of music festivals and stuff. She says it's kind of neo-hippie, except they have kind of an empty idea of like what that was.
Right.
My daughter's in fact quite alternative. She does alternative building technique stuff and goes
She's
down
great.
to Mexico and helps build women's shelters and
she's great.
And women medical centers and things. But
I wish she'd come over here.
Yeah, we wish she would come over here
to-
instead of living there.
We're concerned about her welfare living there, really.
But she says it's crazy, and people are incredibly hostile. It's not just they won't wear a mask; it's that they're hostile towards anybody who does wear a mask.
Yes, isn't that amazing?
Or gets vaccinated.
That's what I mean. Though, you know what that is almost like, Didi.
Yeah.
You know what that is? I think in part in the in the United States.
Yeah.
You know how they've sort of the right wing has kind of been like everybody like including Biden, right? They're all communists. It's a joke, really, right?
Yeah.
And so they've all kind of this hatred of the left in quotes, because I mean Biden is no more left than Trump is, and Trump is certainly, they're just far right as white supremacist and all of that, imperialist, right? But so it's almost like because because a lot of those liberals and the rad libs and all of that are mostly okay with masks, it's almost become like another right-left situation.
Yeah,
I think that's
I've
partly
heard a few
what
people say that it's become a real culture war issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's like, and that's why I think that idiots, kind of COVID-idiots, basically beat up people who wear masks, because it's like they consider them in the US anyway. They consider them like
traitors and leftists.
Well, BLM people, which they, which Trump was always telling them they're. What were they? Extremists and terrorists and all that.
Communists
kind of thing. Communists and all of that. So that's what that's become. And I think people over here that are propagandized probably by the QAnon stuff and all of that.
And
also
some people
go that
pick up
direction.
on that here.
Did he also go that direction with the help of Murdoch? Because Murdoch Press over here, which owns 75% of the media, they've been pushing it for decades, the hatred of anything that's alternative, any leftist stuff. They're really racist, they're Islamophobic and all of that.
They're transphobic, they're homophobic. They're very big on opposing and saying climate change is an illusion, we can't do anything about this. Sky News is one of his main things, and it's at this point, Sky News Australia is way more problematic than Fox News ever was.
It's way more. It's awful. It's really as cracked as Fox News was with
it's
people
more so
with like Glenn. What's the name of that guy? Glenn somebody or other.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Anyway, but way more cracked and sort of rabidly hateful and stuff. And apparently, just recently, was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Sky News, YouTube blocked Sky News for a week because they were putting out all this, was it anti-COVID stuff? But also, there's this some sort of Senate inquiry, isn't there, coming up?
I think so.
Where they've now taken down any climate denier stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Like they've been scrubbing their site of all this stuff
Yeah, I think there
before
was a
the
lot
Senate
of climate
inquiry.
denial stuff, and
So hopefully they actually have some sort of evidence of this different stuff. Is this a Senate inquiry over the Murdoch Press or a Senate inquiry? I should look that up.
I don't know if it's on Murdoch. It should be. Kevin
I
Rudd, our
find-
ex-PM, has been very big on
Yeah.
doing it. And if you're looking for information about that, it's hashtag News Corps,
Yeah.
CORPSE.
Senate inquiry, Murdoch. Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I mean, it was basically the two major parties here